Well, we've got an update on Sunday's news about the shooting at the home of the judge who was presiding over the Epstein Deutsche Bank case. Yesterday, I discussed the possibilities that, of course, this was related to the whole Deutsche Bank thing, and that perhaps this was an act of intimidation. Of course, it wouldn't make sense for someone to try and kill the judge herself, because then the case would just go to another judge. That doesn't make much sense. Would make more sense if they were trying to intimidate her, hurt people close to her. But I have to say, in hindsight, I have some hesitation even with my analysis yesterday, considering that this was so shortly after she was given the case, only 4 days. It seems like quite an escalation. If this was some sort of operation to try and influence her, you would think that first maybe she would be approached by someone that would offer her a carrot before she gets the stick. It's not just like they would come at her and kill her son and say, okay, now do what we say or we're going to kill you next. So maybe, maybe yesterday I was a little too aggressive in saying that. However, the news that's come out since my video yesterday, actually came out yesterday afternoon, and we got more details into the night, has not in and of itself made me question my analysis from yesterday. And of course, the big news is that the supposed shooter not only was identified, but then was found dead of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He supposedly killed himself, just like old Jeff Epstein. Just like Vince Foster and all the rest of the Suicide Squad. And I must say, I'm not particularly confident in the reporting on all this. We are at the stage with with anything Epstein related. Actually, we were at that stage for the last few decades, to where you just can't believe a word of it. I don't know necessarily what's true and what's not, and that's what makes fake news so dangerous. Is that the reporters, whether they're well-intentioned or not, are always going to start with some grain of truth. So I could, come in here and tell you that everything that they said about this guy is 100% not true. He was a total, it was a stitch-up job. This is completely fake. This was 100% having to do with Epstein and Deutsche Bank. But the fact of the matter is, I don't know. I have no way of knowing. I don't have any, secret little men who are on the ground telling me, oh, yeah, no, this is totally fake. This guy, he was murdered. He was shot 3 times in the back of the head. I've got pictures. And if people tell you that stuff like that, they're probably lying to you too. But I'm not going to do that, because I'm just trying to figure things out. And so what I know is that they're pinning this terrorist attack, which is essentially what it was, in my opinion, trying to terrorize this woman. They're pinning this attack on a disgruntled attorney who apparently argued a case before her and lost. Sometime in 2015, about 5 years ago, I guess he's been holding on to this pent-up rage. And he wanted to go harm the judge for some reason. But, it gets better, because guess what? This guy is apparently, not only is he not, some sly Deutsche Bank assassin sent to try and stop her from exposing Epstein and his global pedophile ring, this guy's actually a Trump supporter. He's a men's rights activist who sued the government to try and, have the draft changed so that it included men and women. Or at least he wanted to sue. Actually, that's not how the law works. I believe that if he filed the lawsuit and won, they would have just gotten rid of the draft altogether, because it would have been, deemed, discriminatory, because it obviously does discriminate against men. But that's why the draft should go away entirely. Sidebar, I know, but anyway. So this guy has a long history of taking on these sorts of cases. And so they're spinning this as, a right-wing extremist went and murdered or tried to murder a woman judge, and blah, blah, blah. And that might be true. I have no way to say that it's not true. It could be true, could not be. And that's the problem. We'll never get the truth out of this. This is going to be, in my opinion, an unsolved mystery for the rest of time. We just don't know. It could be that everything we're being told is 100% true. and that this was just a coincidence that she happened to be dealing with the Epstein-related stuff, which is much higher stakes than some loony attorney trying to sue to have the draft declared unconstitutional or something like that. But, if you were, because the problem with this is that if they wanted to terrorize this woman and attack her family, the way that they would cover it up would be exactly by pinning it on someone like this. You want to pin it on some crazy guy who can just be written off as a lone nut, who had no ties to anything. It was just that he went nuts, he snapped, and he went and tried to harm these people. I'm not saying that this is a part of the cover-up, but I'm just, given what we already know, what's already been done with all the Epstein stuff, if that was the truth, it wouldn't surprise me. But, of course, that's just speculation. I'm not saying that that's true. I'm not saying that that's likely at all. I'm just saying that that's not unreasonable. And given how much we've been lied to about the whole Epstein thing, given how much institutional support there has been for Epstein and his accomplices and this whole network, well, then I do not blame someone who wants to believe that that is the likely explanation here, that this guy was just framed, or perhaps they facilitated this guy committing this act. Perhaps he was egged on by someone to do it. But unfortunately, this is the end of that. Of this particular case. This is just one small part of the broader Epstein saga, and I just think we have to accept that we're not going to get any answers in this case, one way or the other. I think that at this point we pretty much have to drop it and move on. Of course, it'll be hard for this woman to drop it since her son is dead, but for the rest of us who are concerned about the broader story here, we need to focus on the trial that she's going to be presiding over. And, of course, whether or not this whole incident affects how she will preside over this case and how she will rule, because I don't believe there would be a jury in this sort of a case, because I believe it's a civil lawsuit, not any sort of criminal proceedings, so I don't think that the Deutsche Bank gets a jury. And, with that said, even if this whole incident is completely unrelated to the case of Deutsche Bank and Epstein, this still might impact her personal performance, I guess you could say, her actions. I mean, when your 20-year-old son is shot and killed practically in front of you, it's going to mess with your head for a while. And who knows, she might end up having to recuse herself to take a leave of absence to grieve over this whole situation, and the court or the judge who ends up getting handed this case next may just be someone who's more sympathetic to Deutsche Bank. I'm not saying these things will happen, but you have to keep an eye out with this sort of stuff. You have to stay skeptical. And you can't get too conspiratorial to the part where you're seeing things that aren't there. But you have to expect these sorts of dirty shenanigans when the stakes are this high. And it's a very fine line. It's reasonable to expect dirty deeds of this sort, but it is unreasonable to assume that they are true until proven otherwise. If you want to get to the bottom of this, you can't make any assumptions at all. You really just have to build your case purely based off of what little facts are available to us. So, with that said, if you get anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day, and I'd hate to have you miss one. So, I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.